Good afternoon, this is Bob Iaccino coming to you from the CME Group trading floor in Chicago. Talking NASDAQ futures, NASDAQs were lower today. Actually, all the indexes fell, the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ really only fell a little over 1/4%. Honestly, in the grand scheme of things, I would call this an unchanged day. The way that the trading went, it got very quiet very early. Now, we're retreating from an overnight nearest futures contract high again in the S&P and the NASDAQ. So that retreat could be expected considering you wait to see what happens in the morning. We had a merger. This is just a general equity comment. We had a merger, or an acquisition rather, where Dr. Pepper Snapple was acquired by Keurig Coffee. Merger Monday gets that nickname for a reason. Mergers and acquisitions are starting to heat up a little bit, but it was a couple of weeks ago that we saw a potential NASDAQ merger in the biotech sector. So didn't help put a bid to equities. They essentially opened up lower, stayed lower through most of the day. And again, it was such a slight move that I'd call it an unchanged day. This is a huge week for earnings in terms of tech companies. We've got every one of the FANG stocks except for Netflix reporting, got Microsoft reporting, got Apple reporting. Story on Apple today came out that it was an unsourced story, but it did appear on Bloomberg, which is obviously a highly credited website, or a highly credited news source, I should say, that Apple was letting its suppliers know they were going to have their demand for the iPhone X, but they were going to continue to demand the lower level phones. So we don't know how that's going to affect Apple's profitability, or if it's going to be talked about in their conference call when they release their earnings this week. Nobody at Apple has commented as of the time I'm speaking to you now. But again, this huge week for tech earnings is going to do a lot to obviously settle whether the NASDAQ's higher or lower on the day. Although the equities in general fell quite a bit with what happened with yields overnight, with the Treasury yields on the 10-year note getting to 2.702, which is the first time they've been up at that 2.7 level since 2014, April of 2014 to be exact. We also should be paying attention to the VIX here. The VIX got above 14 today, settled above 12. The VIX chart itself, which doesn't really give traditional price action patterns, but it continues to climb and sort of has a bit of a rolling shape to it. Now the VIX, again, is mean reverting, so you don't really get these patterns and targets like you do with other price charts. It's just a naturally mean reverting index, but the way it's forming right now, it looks like it might be trying to set up a little bit higher of a range, which could potentially signal that people are looking for a little bit more seriously of a correction than they have been in the past. The VIX is the fear index. If people are buying the VIX, that is one of the ways to protect long positions. And if equities fell, NASDAQ led the ascension. NASDAQ would likely lead the decline. This is Bob Iaccino talking NASDAQ futures from the CME Group trading floor in Chicago.